I knew that.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know some others might trickle in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming out today. My name is Amy Ware, and I'm the new Career Services Director here at CBU. And thanks for coming out to a program that we're truly excited about. This is a partnership with Student Life and Career Services, our Leading Ladies panel discussion. We have some amazing panelists here for you today to share with you their experiences in their careers and how they have achieved success. One panelist note I would like to mention, Emily Greer with St. Jude ALSAC had an emergency this morning, so I'm so thankful that Ms. Brenda Absure, who is the Deputy Chief Development Officer with ALSAC, was able to pinch hit for her at a very short notice, so thank you for coming out, taking time out of your busy day to be here as to all of you. So this is how it's going to work. We are going to allow the panelists to introduce themselves. They have some preset questions that they will answer for you. I will ask these questions. And then once the panelists have answered these questions, I really encourage you to ask these amazing ladies questions of your own. It's not often where you have these amazing women in one place at one time, so please take advantage of the opportunity and be thinking of some questions you're going to want to ask them as well. Okay? So we'll go ahead and get started, and if you will, and whoever wants to begin can do so. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your position, what you do, your responsibilities, and kind of walk us through a typical day in your world.
I'll jump in.
Okay.
I know a few people in the audience, so I'm not real shy. So I'll be glad to kind of kick it off. My name is Lori Patton. I am one of the owners of Roadshow BMW in Minnie. I'm also one of the owners of Patton Properties and Roadshow Realty. I serve on several community boards. I'm on the board of Leadership Memphis, Orpheum, Child Advocacy Center, and CBU. When the question came up was to talk about a typical good day, I kind of had to chuckle because I'm like, there is no typical day. And it's probably true for each one of us is in our positions and as business owners. We kind of go in and we may have a preset notion of what we need to get done today or check our to-do list or whatever, but 9 times out of 10, that's not what you end up doing. One of the first things that I do when I go into Roadshow is there's 3 things that I do. Is I first look at our cash position because that gives me a snapshot of where we are for the day. And I want to know we've got money in the bank, and I want to know what's going out, what's coming in, and things along those lines. Then I like to do a walk around because I think it's important. We've got 100 employees, let me just back up. It's a family-owned business, so it's my dad and my brother. My dad is retired. My brother is there as well. And between the two of us, we want to have our face out there. We want to walk around, say hello. We've got our eyes and ears open. We're looking from the perspective of the customer. So as far as the facility, we want to say, all right, that trash needs to be picked up, and it can be as little as that. And then we have reports. It goes back to the inspect what you expect, and that's kind of what I live by in my business. Is I don't have time a lot of times to be able to dive into a specific problem, and I don't need to do that because I have eagles. I have people in place that take care of that. I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. That makes me smart. So we do a dashboard, and it's just like a dashboard in a car. You don't need to know everything that's going on in a car. You just want to know the important things in your business or whatever you're doing. You want a report that shows you, all right, I've got this many cars in service. I have this many parts in inventory. I have this many cars in inventory. And that's what helps me kind of lead the rest of my day as to, am I going to, do I see a service engine light on that dashboard? Do I see a problem where I need to go and focus my time that day? And that's what is important is in business you have to learn balance because you can't be end all be all person. You can't control everything. you have to, number one, have the people in place that you trust and know they're doing what they need to do. And number two, you have to be able to look at reports and talk to people and understand your business so that you know where you need to focus your time. And any given day, it's almost always different than what I expected to, which is exciting and great. But then I get home and I'm like, can't mark anything off my to-do list tonight. I've got to start right back over tomorrow. But that gives you a little bit of background for myself, so I'll pass it on.
Well, my name is Maria Lansing. I'm a vice president with AT&T, and what is the Signature Client Group? That's the largest customer that AT&T has. So I'm responsible for $800 million of AT&T's revenue, and that is for Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, and Florida. So when you talk about the things, by the way, I have responsibility over engineering, operations, and sales. So all those groups report up to me. What a typical day is like is absolutely that. It's not typical, not ever. What I can tell you is certain things are going to always be there. There's always going to be an escalation, right? Somebody has an issue and it has to be taken care of. So you have to be there for the customers because that's what I'm servicing, no matter what it is. And most importantly for my people, because you do have a great team that surrounds you. You're only successful as you are, and you invest in these people and you enable their success. And as you do those things, right, you need to be available for them. So I think I counted in the past 6 weeks, I have been a total of 10 full business days in Memphis. I travel a lot because I have to be in all these areas, and I do believe in the personal touch, in the personal interaction with my team as well as the customer. From what you were saying, right, about surrounding yourself with the right people, it's also having the right people in the right places and investing in their career paths and all of these things that you have to do as a leader, as well as like you said, how do I stay focused? Because you have to have time for you and your growth and your strategy. So I start every morning with that blocked hour that I sit back and say, okay, where am I versus my to-do list from yesterday, which nothing got done. So, am I accomplished something this week that I need to do? And like I say, you have your own dashboards. You have to have your own measurements of success, or you will be just going around without a particular aim. So you have to prepare yourself every day. And I invest in my career and I invest in the community. And as part of, I'm an alumni of CBU. And I spend a lot of time here because we always have to give back. I also am a member of different boards because there are things here that we have to do in our community in Memphis to continue to grow. And this is the city that I have chosen to stay at. And I have been in and out of the Memphis area for 20 years now. So I have a special love for it and this community. So kind of overall, that's who I am and what I do on a daily basis.
I'm Sylvia Walker, and I am a small business owner. I am the agency owner of the Sylvia Walker State Farm Agency in East Memphis on Kirby Parkway. I am from Kosciuszko, Mississippi. How many people have heard from Kosciuszko, about Kosciuszko? One. Okay, just a couple of them. Well, actually, I have a couple of things in common with Oprah Winfrey. So how many people have heard of Oprah Winfrey? Everybody, of course. All right, well, Oprah and I used to play together. She is from Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And sometimes you may hear, well, on some of these shows, I know she's not on the regular show, she has her own network and all of that now, but she would say, oh, when I was a little girl in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, seeing my first Easter speech, that's what really got me in tune with performing or talking in front of audiences. So at any rate, that's where I'm from. However, Oprah and I are really different in another way. She has tons of money and I'm just a regular person. But being a regular person isn't bad either, and what she is very good, and she's been very instrumental in helping out many people across the world. At any rate, I am glad to be here with you all today. I am a graduate of Mississippi State University. I got my bachelor's and my master's degrees there, and I love CBU too, but of course I'll always love MSU. I have been a State Farm agent now for 25 years. I first came to Memphis 18 years ago as an agency manager, and then I passed back to become a State Farm agent. I actually love being a State Farm agent because I get to talk to people, help handle their needs through different products and insurance, and my degree was in psychology and counseling. And at first I was very resistant about that. I thought, sell insurance? But I think it's a mindset. So I really wasn't interested in selling. However, the more I found out about State Farm, I realized that it was more about helping people, developing those relationships. And that's what keeps me grounded, is that I enjoy helping people. Now, if you ask me to sell something that I didn't believe in, can't do it. I'm not a salesperson. I am a person who wants to help people. And that's what I really enjoy about that. I'm a mother of 3 adult children, and I have 4 grandchildren, which the oldest is age 6. And so now at Grandma's house, you know, it's filled with opportunities, and everything is kind of based on education, but it's fun. So right now we're in the throes of doing some vegetable gardening. And so I'm teaching them, and I have a couple of backyard chickens that when I ask my 6-year-old grandson, where do eggs come from? And he says, the supermarket. So he's going to find out about that. And plus, so I do some community work with the Memphis area Master Gardeners, of which my husband and I are both members of that. So we're doing a lot of volunteer work. Back to State Farm. State Farm, to me, is a wonderful company that I love to work for. And I think you all need to know that it's a great company, so that if you have any ideas of becoming a State Farm agent, I'm letting you know that too. As far as a typical day, I have to agree with both Lori and Maria that there really isn't a typical day. I usually go in, and we have a dashboard too. It's actually called the dashboard, to kind of see where you are, because you have to work on your business as far as that goes. As the CEO and owner of my business, I am responsible for everything. You know, who pays the rent, who pays the utility bill, who hires the people, who sometimes fires the people, everything that you see. Of course, I work with my customers on a daily basis. But, so kind of going into the office, I pull up my dashboard, I review my emails to see who's emailed me, and many of them may be customers saying, I need to change this, or I want this, or I had an accident last night, and I've already sent it in to the claims department already. Or someone will call for quotes or coverage questions. Is this covered? Or billing questions. We do marketing. That marketing might be on direct mail. Many of you may have gotten some of my direct mail pieces, be it postcards or what have you. We do a lot of cold calling because we have to continually try to find new business to bring it into the agency. It's all about training. Training is ongoing, not only in State Farm. School's never out of State Farm. So I tell people when they inquire about becoming a State Farm agent or inquiring about wanting to work in a State Farm agency, if they don't want to study, if they don't want to learn, you're in the wrong place. The school is never out. So it's about assisting your team members. And I don't call them my agency reps, I call them team members. We're part of this team. It's all about reading, and I know you all get plenty of that here at CBU, but don't ever let that stop you. And whenever you go to work, whether it's for a part-time job, you're going to go to a fast food operation and work there while you're in school, learn everything that you can learn about that operation while you're there, because you're learning transferable skills. And to me, whenever you work somewhere, it should be about the passion. That passion has to be within, and when you have that passion, you know that you're going to be satisfied with yourself, you're going to make your customers so that they realize that you're interested in working with them. So basically, my overall thing every day is yes, do we have numbers, quotas, and things to try to maintain? Yes, we do, but the main thing is taking care of our customers, no matter what that involves.
Good evening, afternoon. I'm Crystal Oliver. I'm a managing director of HR support, recruitment, diversity, and compliance. I've been with FedEx for 31 years. Yeah, you started from I'm a 2005 graduate of Leadership Memphis, which is every year Leadership Memphis. That is the best class that ever came through. I'm a graduate of CBU, grad at ALSAC. She's at Leadership Memphis. I need to go down there and show them high school. I'm a graduate of CBU, undergrad and grad. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. I'm on the board of United Way of the Mid-South. And a typical day for me, first of all, begins me waking up and giving thanks to my Creator for seeing another day. Then the next thing starts with realizing that there are going to be a number of things that happen that day, but I can't control those, but I can control how I react to those things. And one of the things that helps me with that is that I have the utmost confidence in my team. I think I'm surrounded with the best team around, and they allow me to do the things that I can do because I really don't have a typical day. A typical day for me can be in the office with several several meetings, and having compliance, reading cases, reading grievances, and different things. Having recruitment for all of Express for the United States, it could be that. Or a typical day for me can be getting on an airplane, going to California, to go to the NAACP Amateur Awards and speaking at the pre-show gala. So it's a whole gamut of things, and I've only been in HR for like 15 months. Most of my career was in operations, where so it was a big flip, but it's been a great change. So a lot of the things they talked about, all those things that they talked about, the dashboard and all those things, you have to have those. And a lot of the times you think when you're dealing mostly in human resources with the people, you don't have to think about the numbers. You do, because you're the part of the business that kind of costs more money than you produce, so you still have to work on, being efficient. And one of the things that I try to do is make sure that I go through and I speak to everybody, because for me, we all have the same goal. We have different titles and different responsibilities that go with that, but at the end of the day, we're there for the same purpose, and each person has to contribute to their level, of expertise to make sure that we, at the end of the day, as a FedEx employee, we have delivered the purple promise to every customer that we touch. So, typical day today is kind of laid back. Tomorrow may just be crazy, but you have to learn to roll with the punches. And that's what I do and I enjoy. So, learn to roll.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Hough. I'm the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at ServiceMaster. Although we are a significant employer in town, a lot of people say, I don't know who ServiceMaster is. So I'll tell you, we're the parent company for 7 individual brands, most of which you'll go, I do know you. Terminex, True Green, American Home Shield, Mary Maid, ServiceMaster Clean, Furniture Medic, and Amerispec. So ServiceMaster just serves as the parent company for all of those individual firms. So I manage recruiting. So far this year, we've hired over 6,500 people, and it is March 21st. So what you've heard is teams make us who we are, and I would be no exception to that. So spending a lot of time with my team and being there for them is really what a typical day is for me. I am there for them. So I got your question, and I thought, well, isn't this interesting? So like many of you, is there a typical day? So I decided I'd just start to journal a little bit about what I was doing, and I put them in big buckets for you. So the first was really people management and development, and most likely because this is merit season and performance review season. So spending a lot of time kind of reflecting on how everyone had their year in 2012, talking about development for 2013. So really spending a lot of time with individuals, helping them kind of look in the rearview mirror and then develop a plan for forward. The second is problem solving, and I think you're hearing a lot of this, right? We have a plan. If you're type A like me, I actually write things on my list so I can cross them off. Because I don't get anything that's already written on my list done, so I have to add things and then cross them off. So problem solving is just an ism, right? It's something that happens to us every day, whether you're at work or in life, and figuring out a way to roll and coming up with creative solutions to fix your problems is what I actually love to do best. Customer relations. So my customer were really all of my hiring managers and all of the candidates. So last year we filled over 10,000 jobs, but we had 400,000 candidates. That's nothing to you. You probably get that on a daily basis. But those candidates are often potential customers, and so it's really important to us that we treat them as such, because I think your candidate experience and your buying decisions were pretty closely connected. So really paying attention to our customer, whether you're a hiring manager or a candidate. And then public relations, and I think, Crystal, you alluded to this, but when you sit in a large organization and you're not in a revenue-generating function, so HR, finance, technology, right? If you're not in those roles, you are sometimes considered a drain on the organization. And so it's really important that you do some PR on a regular basis, letting your customers know, hey, we've built 6,500 jobs for you. Hey, we've put a new program in place for you. Hey, just doing a little PR on your own, which is never a bad thing, but in a not very boastful way, just more of a, hey, I just wanted to let you know what we've done for you lately. So find myself doing some PR work to make sure that we aren't that drain on the organization. And then networking, and I think this is kind of not what I get paid to do, but I think it's really important. You meet people every day, and it's important to build your network and then cultivate your network. So are you reaching out and having lunch with people that you've met, or shooting an email to someone whom you haven't spoken to in a while? You never know when you might need them. And so I'm very intentional about identifying who my network is and then being thoughtful about reaching out to some of them on a regular weekly basis. So I have 2 other jobs in my life. So when we get to Q&A, I'll just put that out there. I'm an adjunct professor at Cornell. Cornell is one of the only universities that actually teaches recruiting. And so I teach sourcing and talent acquisition at Cornell, and I'm a mom. And so I had a very interesting conversation with my junior at Ole Miss last night about, Mom, do you really think I ought to go to law school? And does it matter on my resume if I finished in 5 years versus 4? So I have very relevant experience in the space as a mom, but as what I do. Interesting that I get to coach my almost 22-year-old, and I have a 7th grader as well. So I wear 3 hats, and I'm proud of all of those.
My name is Brenda. Absure. I'm the Deputy Chief Development Officer for ALSAC, and most of you probably don't know what that stands for, but it's American Lebanese Syrian Associated Charities, and it's the fundraising arm for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I've been there for 23 years, and I do not have a typical day there. I have a to-do list that usually has at least a couple pages, but when I get there in the morning, most of those things kind of get moved to the side. We raise over $800 million for St. Jude each year because their budget is $1.8 billion. So being over the development division, which is 6 different fundraising divisions, is a huge challenge because we're constantly trying to figure out what's the next newest way to raise money, how do we do that, where do we go, how do we reach a new demographic, and things like that. So my day is constantly moving from one of our fundraising divisions to the other, and solving problems, employee issues. We have over 1,000 employees, which is nothing compared to what either one of you have, but we have those located all over the country. So there's always some type of challenge that's going on with one of our fundraising divisions. I love what I do. I came to ALSAC not really with the idea to stay there for 23 years, but once you learn what the mission is and you learn what it is, very passionate about that. Volunteer in the community. We have 3 housing facilities, Target House and Ronald McDonald House, so get the opportunity to volunteer there and be there with the patients and families. And again, just the challenge every day of trying to figure out where are we going to get the fundraising that we need to support the hospital, whether it's going to be from a child doing a math-a-thon at their school, or is it the next dinner or gala that we have in Los Angeles or New York. So very, very challenging, but very, very rewarding job.
name is Susan Stephenson, and I'll start backwards. I'll say my first job, I'm wife of Tom, mother of Tommy, Katie, and Meg, 25, 24, and 22. 3 children in 37 months, my greatest accomplishment today. But my professional career, my business partner and I started Independent Bank, which is the Big Red I Bank, 16 years ago in April. And I have been, that is the 4th of my children. I'm very proud of my 4th child. And my job, I will not repeat for all of you. I think you're bright enough to now know that we have no typical days. So if you aspire to that, you clearly have convened the wrong panel. But I will say, because I think it might be interesting for you to just hear, I was a history and English major in college, which prepared me for nothing in life but learning and playing Trivial Pursuit. Pick me, if you're ready to put together a team, I'm good. But I will say that that passion for learning that started in my college career as a history and English major is really part of what I think makes my life satisfying and made me more successful in my career. You never stop learning, as you said, but I have a chance to do a job I love every day with people that I love. And if I were going to make a recommendation to all of you today as I look out across this room, find something that you are really excited about getting out of bed for every day. You're going to spend 66% of your waking hours if you're conservatively working. And for those of us who work the way everyone on this panel does, it's a bigger percentage of your day. So I'd make that recommendation. But I would also tell you that I thought when I was very young that the only job I would never do was be a banker. So I needed a job when I moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and I was certified to teach school, but schools had already started. And I managed to talk my way into a job through my love of basketball and sports at First Tennessee. And I've been in banking for 35 years. And I was not when I started. So I'm just old, and that's all there is to it. I do say this. I would tell you that the people don't recognize what a banker does. And I would tell you that my day yesterday, just to give you a perspective, I spent the day yesterday going to look at new locations for us to reach out to the underserved banking community in Memphis, Tennessee, and thinking about creative ways to solve that problem and to reach out to the community to do that job for service. The next meeting that I had was a meeting with a marketing company to start a social media campaign and a viral marketing campaign, which is a great thing for those of you who are thinking, by the way, I need your help. I'll take recommendations later on exactly how to approach that. I ended the day with a meeting on our financial performance and taking a look at some strategies that we have. So what I would tell you is that looking on the outside into any job is probably not the way that you're going to be able to make a very informed decision about it. I'd encourage you to find ways to do job testing, which is internships, volunteer work, do a day where you follow people around, talk your way into a situation and have a chance to really get perspective, because the joy of it all is the unexpected. The joy is the untypical day, and that's what I do from really early in the morning until really late at night.
So I'm going to go backwards a little bit. There are many students who are not quite sure what they want to do upon graduation. So can you walk us through how you chose your career, but also kind of the steps that you took in order to accomplish the successful career you have now? I'll throw this out to you to tackle it, and we can kind of go from there.
I'll start out. Actually, I did not choose insurance. I tell people insurance chose me. As I said earlier, I was more in the human services area, and that's where I was working, and was working for a domestic violence shelter where I was the director of that program. And State Farm agency manager approached me one day and said, well, you know, I really think you ought to take a look at becoming a State Farm agent. And of course I'm thinking, yeah, right, but I didn't tell him that. So I said, you know, I really don't think I'm going to want to sell insurance. I said, sir, with all due respect, I know nothing about insurance. I don't even handle my own insurance. My husband does that. And he says, well, you know what? That's fine, because it's really easier if you come to us not knowing anything about insurance per se, so that we can teach you. And And so he said, well, at least do me a favor, come and take an aptitude test. So I said, okay, you know, don't turn down any opportunities. And that's a very valuable lesson, because I could have easily turned it down. But I said, okay, so I went and took it. And so the next thing I know, he's back on my heels again about wanting to come. And so this went on over a period of 3 years. And so I was still wondering, why is he so bent on me? And I had been working with United Way. This was on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And at that point, there were some severe cuts in funding for the shelter for which I was the director of. And of course, you're trying to do fundraising, so I can understand what you mean on that. You know, your funding has been cut in half. So I'm thinking, what in the world can I do to keep this shelter open? So, you know, we had these little mini campaigns on TV, and the Mississippi Press, that was our newspaper, they did some articles. And I thought, you know, I read somewhere about writing a grant. Have I ever written a grant before? I didn't know what to do except take on that challenge to try to write that grant to get some money. So I did write the grant. Didn't know what I was doing, but evidently it worked, because we were successful in getting the funding for the shelter to keep it open. So the State Farm agency manager said, the people at United Way told me that you were so determined to keep the shelter open, and what you did with the funding and then getting the community involved for fundraising, is that we know that you can do this job. We want people who are creative and going to make it happen. And so we feel like you can make it happen. And so another 2 years later, I was actually appointed as a State Farm agent. That was in Pascagoula, Mississippi. And anyway, that's how that career chose me. But once I embraced that I was going to become a State Farm agent, and it was not easy, because I thought, wow, I'm in a male-dominated society. I'd go to a meeting and there were 2 women. There were 50 men. So, you know, they're looking at you like, yeah, what are you going to do? Or when you talk to other prospective people for customers, well, you know, I like you, Sylvia, but I don't want a woman for my agent. I want a man. Well, so some of those things I wasn't going to change, but some of those setbacks, you just keep saying, well, okay, well, you know, I appreciate talking to you, sir, and you move on, because there are other opportunities. So that's what I had to do, was learn how to overcome those things. And it was so incredibly hard to me till I had posted on my mirror in the morning, I cannot fail. I cannot fail. And when you look at these words, every day that I go to that mirror, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm brushing my hair, whatever, I'm looking at that. That became ingrained in me until I knew I could not fail. And God was not going to let me fail, because I was determined that I was going to do everything in my power. I believe in trying to be your best self. I may not be the best agent in the whole world or the whole State Farm, but when you know for sure that you're becoming your best self, that's really what's important. And people know that, and they know that you're going to give your best to them. And so that's my little philosophy, is being your best self. And when you're doing that, you're taking care of your customers. They know it, and that's part of the reason why I have enjoyed the success that I have thus far.
Well, my education and background did not start out in fundraising either. I have a business and finance degree in management, and was in the investment industry here in Memphis, Tennessee. Had been there for about 10 years, and really loved the investment industry, loved the excitement, loved the challenges that you get every single day. And then there was a position that opened up at ALSAC in the investment department, very small, two-person department. I thought, you know, this would be a really great opportunity for me. I can go in there, I can learn the customer side, can really learn all of the parts that have to do with the customer, and then I can, you know, stay 2 or 3 years, get that under my belt, and come back to the investment industry and really be able to use that knowledge to take it back to the investment industry. And as I explained, I went to work there, and 23 years later, I'm still there. But the other part of that is don't ever let something like that stand in your way. If there's a door that's open for you, walk through that door and figure out what that new job is, because you never know where it's going to take you. I worked in the investment department for 3 years, and then had an opportunity to move over and start working with donors and with fundraising, and realized that that was truly my passion. That's truly what I loved. I loved talking to the donors. I loved building the strategy it took to be able to figure out how to do the fundraising, and how do we move things forward, and where do we go, and how do we get there. Loved building teams of very, very passionate fundraisers who are willing to go out there and do that. So just be sure that you don't, think about, well, I don't really want to go to work for a nonprofit. Give it a chance. You will realize that there is a big difference between for-profit companies and nonprofit, but it's truly gives you an opportunity to do more than just your job. You don't feel like you're going to work every single day, and you're just building a business. You can walk across the street to the hospital or wherever your nonprofit supports, and you can actually see that. So I would encourage you to just not look at a job or look at a company or look at whatever it is that's in front of you and close that door because you don't think that's something that you want to do, or you don't think that's the career path that you had in mind, because you never know what's going to be out there behind the next door. Amen to that.
I'll jump in. So my background is electrical engineering. I graduated from CBU with an electrical engineering degree, and then I came back and did a Master of Science in Engineering and Business Administration as well. It's interesting because when I reflect back, and I look at you guys, I was sitting there not so many years ago, and it's tough to ask an 18-year-old to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Your degree is a base, right? I love engineering. I knew that I was getting into something, and you've heard about that, right? Passion. I knew that I liked math, and I knew that I liked to put these, and grab something and pull it apart and then put it back together. I just enjoyed it. If you ask other people what an electrical engineer does, they probably think I should be using computers all the time, or I should be in a room developing fluid power, etc. But what it did is it gave me a logical thinking background. Engineers are problem solvers by default, and they're always thinking ahead. What steps do we have to follow to get things done? So I leveraged that, right, in every step that I took. And if I had to define a career, I would call it a career of organic growth and a lesson of never say never, because it has been that. I remember my first introduction to networking, which is in IT, where I started, was through one of you, right? It was an upperclassman that was leaving CBU and said, hey, this internship is open, and you've heard that recommendation from here. Try it. You're investing in what you invest your time in right now is key, and you're investing in hearing us to share with you kind of our experiences. So I did. I took a chance. I didn't think networking was for me, and I took that internship, and you know what? It became the first step of my careers. And then I became an implementation engineer, and I said, I'll never get into sales. And guess what? 3 years later, I was a pre-sales engineer, and I learned a lot, because when you learn in sales, it's not necessarily to be a salesperson, but it's to be able to justify an idea and to be able to position it in a way that appeals to many. That was key when I became director of operations for a Fortune 500 company that had a global reach, because I was able to position, like you said, right, when you're an organization that you're not a P&L, so you're not a profit and loss organization, so you're a low CDIs of many people. To be able to position your ideas and get funding so that you can do the right things within what you do was key. And that was something that I learned from that sales position that I said I'd never take. Then I said I'd never come back to AT&T, and I left and I came back. And they brought me back, and I wanted, at the time, again, to think about global. I was the kind of person that was on 24/7, global IT operations, 2 o'clock in the morning, call from Germany. Hey, Germany's down. Okay, let me talk to so-and-so. So I came back to Memphis. It was a great opportunity about, what is it now, a year and a half ago or something like that, as an executive director. And it was going to be great because it was about innovation, which is what I like to do. And then, I was pregnant all of a sudden. And guess what? 6 months pregnant, my my husband, my second child, we were happy. I was slowing down, supposedly. This was going to be a good time to have a baby. 6 months into it, the officer of AT&T comes and says, hey, the VP position is open, we want you to take it. I'm pointing at my belly. Right? Like, 6 months pregnant. About the same time, for better or worse, the CEO, Yahoo announced that Marissa Mayer was becoming CEO of Yahoo. And if you remember at the time, she was 6 months pregnant. And that he's the CEO of one of the largest companies that there is in IT. And it's one of those things, again, which it is, am I passionate about what I do? And I can tell you that every step of the way, I have broad passion. And every step of the way, the decision has been about things that make me want to work on it. The time that I dedicate, and I hear you guys talk about what we do, and I didn't mention, I am a mom of 2, and that's probably because I don't give it as much importance as I should, in the sense of, you do have one full-time job and a part-time job that I should do better, and we'll talk about the life-work balance, I'm sure. But I just wanted to make, I'm as passionate about my family when I'm with them as I am about what I do, because otherwise I wouldn't sacrifice some of the time that I spend or not spend with them if I didn't like what I do. So I encourage you to find that, and it wasn't an easy thing to find. And the thing that sets you apart when you're passionate is that the question of woman or male, and think about it, right? An electrical engineer back in 2001, I was one of 2 people, and CBU had a lot of engineers, but I was one of 2 girls in a class of 55 or something like that. And I continued through my career to be male dominant, and it's fine because there's no difference when you're passionate about what you do, because your passion sets you apart. Because you want to do things about it, you want to improve, you want to grow, and you want to do the right things. You're in a fantastic university that gives you a background, not just about the academic pieces that you're doing, but the piece that I saw when I walked in, which is, it sold me on coming to CBU, and that was enter to learn, live to serve. There is no more powerful statement that you can follow. So I took the VP role that I said I would take. I actually turned it down twice, and tried to turn it down twice. And I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it as much as I travel and as much as that 5-month-old baby at home, right, gets to see me ever so often. But the weekends are all about him and the other kid. And I can tell you when I was the 4-year-old that is helping me out now. No. The 4-year-old that I took to the zoo this past weekend, and my gosh, was that a bad decision. But it's great. Again, that is the background that I had. I love what I do. It's, like I said, a career of never say never, get exposed to things, invest in your network, invest in your time, because what you'll hear us say is that, we don't have enough time to do the things that we do. And yet I tell you that every book that I wanted to read, I've read, and every movie that I wanted to see, I've seen. So you do make time for the things that you like. If you dedicate yourself to something that you are not really like, but you think is going to make you money, you are not going to end up in a good place. So, because eventually it's going to eat up on you. So find that, and to find it, you're not 18, you're not supposed to know everything, even though I'm sure you think you do, because I remember I thought I did. I still don't know everything at my age, and I still have a lot to learn, but I do know now, very much so, what I like and what I don't, and I am very much looking for things in which I can do what I think is best and what I is very in tune to what I like and want to do.
Picking up on a common theme, we kind of all have the same stories. I'm a history major in the car business. So, the question was, how did you choose your career? And I would answer, I was born. That's how I chose my career. My brother and I, it's an older brother. He's 2.5 years difference. And, we're partners now. We get along great, but we've always joked that, it's the golden handcuffs. It's, we're like, well, we both had no intention of going in the car business. I was adamant, I'm not going in the car business. I'm going to find something else to do. I'm not going in the car business. Well, look where I am today. So, I was a history major with a minor in political science and had intended on going to law school. And to be perfectly honest, my grades weren't quite good enough to get me into law school. That was kind of a pipe dream. So there was a time about 5 years after graduating, I was working with family at the dealership with my family still. I'm not going to work here. I'm not staying. I'm going to figure something else out. So I loaded up my car and moved up to Washington, D.C. That's
politics was kind of where I was always going, because my passion is helping people, as most of us up here will say, and being, working towards the betterment of others, because my family's been blessed in what we've attained in really my father's lifetime. He's from Guntown. Is that anywhere close to Cozumel?
No, but I've heard about it.
Okay. He's from Guntown, Mississippi. So, I go to Washington, D.C., and it takes me about, I would say 8 months, and all of a sudden, it's like, it wasn't so bad back at Roadshow. So I came back pretty quick, and never regretted making that decision to go, because I kind of got it out of my skin. But I came back, and I think what the important thing is, and Maria mentioned it, and others have mentioned it, is the education you get here at CBU is teaching you the critical thinking that you're able to do and be into different situations. So I can go on to Roadshow, and I still can't walk back to the service department and point out the carburetor versus the spark plug, because I don't care. I want it to go, I want it to run, and if it runs, I'm fine. So I don't want to hear, don't talk to me about what's wrong with it, just tell me how you're going to fix the car. I don't need it. So that's what I found so I take a car business and I find the part that I can put my passion into. I can't go back and work on cars. My dad can. That was his passion. He can go work on those cars. He can take a car apart and put it back together. And he always wanted me or Annie to be able to do that. And we were both like, I at least learned the difference between the two screwdrivers. My brother never had. So you learn, and I'm just saying, there are several others up here that say they found their passion, and while my industry might not be where my passion is, I find that part of the job that I love, and that's dealing with people, whether it's the employees or our customers. And that's what I love about it, without a doubt, is the people contact, my brother and I also kid, Dr. Burke will appreciate this, we really should have been psychology majors, because that's really what business is about, is learning how to deal with people and how they're thinking and what their motivation is. But I'm not So that gives you a little bit of background. I don't want to mark too much on it, because that's why I'm in the car business. But I do have passion for it, and I do love it. And if you end up on a career track that might be a little different than what you're thinking, find your passion within that career. You'll always find it's so varied of things that you can do and what job you may be in. Bring your passion, find where you can fit your passion into that job.
Well, for me, I guess it's kind of like people said. I really didn't choose the career kind of found me. I started as a part-time handler at the Hough. It was just a part-time job. And I got there, and I kind of enjoyed it in my educational background. I'm going to take it even a step further for, education outside of school. Because I was taught to have confidence that I can do whatever it is that I want to do. And going into an environment, airplanes where there were, was male-dominated. And, so I can do this too. And then speaking back to my education here at CBU, so the classes being smaller, you got that sense of you knew what you knew. When you got through with a class, you knew the information. You knew how to think. You knew how to apply to whatever was going on. So regardless when I was being told, and I came up during the time in, 60s where there was segregation and then people were pigeonholed into things, so you were told you could do this. Well, I always stepped outside of that box because I can do whatever it is that so when I had the men telling me you can't do this, I'm glad you're here, you can do the paperwork and I'll run the ramp. Well, I'm not the secretary, you do the paperwork, I'll run the ramp. So it's all of that, but the core of my education, I think, all throughout, but really here, and having professors that made sure you knew. So when you left there, you knew who you knew. and nobody could take that, could take that from me. So my education here had that, big impact on me. So one of the things I'd like to say to you is when you go to class, listen, go to class, not me, go to class. Here you can't do that. Class is small enough. If you're not there, they're going to know you're not there, so they're going to call and find out where you are. But make sure that you get the information and know that you know. And when you don't know, say that you don't know. Because you can BS for only so long. It's going to catch up with you. When you know what you know, you don't have to think about, what did I say yesterday? What did I say the day before? So how my education, has had an impact on my choices, although it didn't, I didn't choose this career. My education throughout all of my career, being able to know what I know, because most of the job changes that I've had in this job, I've lived in California, lived in Florida, in Colorado, most of the jobs, it hasn't been, I saw that, I want to do that, I want to do that. Somebody said, you would really be good at this. And I'm like, I really don't want to. Even with the directors, I'm like, I'm not ready to do that. So I got pushed in, and I said, well, look, I'm going to go. I'm going to be real good. I'm going to make a good showing. So I'm not going to get this job. I don't want this job. But I want to make enough show. So when I'm ready, I wouldn't have bombed so badly. I got the job. So here I am being on the job. I said, Lord, I got the job. But then I can't turn it down because there's too many people that, that are looking up to me that I got to set the, open the door for. So, so it's all of that. So, but I think my education and just everything and the approach to things is what that is. And several of you may sit here today and have your plans, think about, this is what I want my career to be. And sometimes it's not going to work out like that. So as they say, don't close the door. If there's an opportunity, seize that opportunity. And another thing, a lot of times you may be encountered with doing things that you don't want to do, and you have a passion for something else. You can always put your passion and develop that passion into whatever it is that you're doing. So if your road turns a little bit differently than you thought it would, and you went to school to do this, and it's turned out to do that, doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that that's just a plan for you. You need to make it, make it work. So you've heard from several of us that said we didn't really choose what we're doing, but we're in it, we're enjoying it, because I was a biology major. I was going to go fix people. Okay. God probably knew I would have fixed them right, so that's where I am. But the main thing is, however it works out, just enjoy your education to make sure, because people can't take your knowledge from you, and then share that knowledge. Share it, because if you don't, a lot of people don't like to share what they know. You don't lose anything. It's kind of like with a closed fist. You don't give anybody anything. If it's closed, you can't get anything either. So you gain by sharing. So do that. So I'll just, my education and several other things, but, I didn't make this choice, but I'm grateful for it, and I'm enjoying every day of it. And I do think back in many days, even though it was many years ago that I was here, there's several things that I encounter on numerous occasions that I can think back to something that happened to me that I learned here at Christian Brothers that makes me apply that and be able to get through some of the things like that.
So I think you're sensing themes, right? So I won't belabor a lot of the points. I had moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, didn't know anyone, decided I'd go to a staffing agency that had a marketing job posted in the newspaper. Am I dating myself? Not a newspaper anymore. And I went and applied and interviewed with the staffing agency for this marketing job at First Union. Now I'm really dating myself. I know this is not. So they don't exist anymore. So about 2 hours later, I got a call from the president of the staffing agency and said, gosh, I know you came in and applied for the marketing position, but would you be interested in working for us? I said, I don't know anything about recruiting. She goes, they liked you a lot. We'll teach you everything you need to know. And I think the theme that you're recognizing is it took that person 5-7 years to get you. Your intersection was, do you want to be the VP? Somebody came, right? There's an intersection in your career that hasn't happened to you yet, right? And so I'm living with this with my oldest son now. He's like, well, Mom, did you go to school? Did you know this is where you're like, no, I didn't know this is what I was going to be, right? And you don't know yet either, because that intersection hasn't occurred to you. Susan's intersection was she was never going to work for a bank, but she ended, right? And so I think what you're hearing is there's this event that will happen to you that will define your future for you. And if you're nervous and you're stressed, and I get that because I think we all were when we were sitting in your seats, enjoy the ride. Don't close the doors. right? And be open and don't live with absolutes. The old say never, right? But I would encourage, all of those things are really important, but enjoy the ride and pay attention for your intersection and that event to happen to you. It will define your future for you.
Okay, I'm going to really quickly say I've already busted myself and told you that I went in and got a job because I had a job. So my career in banking started out as an economic reality. I needed a job, and as a result, I got a job at a bank. But I will say this about my career, and I would say this to all of you. I took every bad job that there was in every company. If you're going to go into a company and you pick every perfect space, if you pick the great jobs where everything's working perfectly, you're never going to have a chance to distinguish yourself. You're never going to have a chance to fix something that's broken. You're never going to learn the hard lessons that you have to learn when you have to undo a puzzle that's been put together in the wrong way and reconfigure it in a way that works for everyone. And so I would just offer to you, as you're thinking about however you find your way to your life work, and there'll be a variety of paths as unique as everyone in this room. But I would say once you're there and you're starting down a path to become what you'll ultimately be, in addition to being open to possibilities, be open to the really hard jobs. And I will tell you that as a result, it will accelerate your career. It certainly did mine. And it will also provide a wealth of on-the-job education that you can acquire in no other way. Walking into a perfect place, in fact, I try to tell that to our young folks today that we work with on a day-to-day basis. If you want the job that looks perfect, because somebody else has already made it perfect, you're having very little margin for distinguishing yourself. And so I just offer to you, try to be willing to take those jobs that look like they're a slog through the swamp, because once you survive the slog, you're going to be smarter and better, and you're going to be more valuable in the company as well.
I know we're committed to the demo program, and I want to give you all a chance to ask at least one question, but just briefly, work-life balance. How do you accomplish this? And maybe some challenges that you face, and I know you have to. I'm going to say, because I'm not great at work-life balance, I'm really late for my next meeting. But I will say, I learned a long time ago, you have to be willing to we own all our choices. And so never be a victim of your own choice. Never be the victim in your story. You are, in fact, the protagonist. You get to pick how the story evolves. So I chose to have a career that has let me lead two companies. I was president and chairman and CEO of Patton before I became co-chair and president of Independent Bank. And I have 3 children that I'm deeply committed to being there for. So because I was focused on that, and this is my solution. I would work a work day, go to all their programs, go to all their sporting events. I would fix their dinner, make sure that they were well taken care of. As soon as they went to bed, I would go back to work many nights, and I would work because we didn't have remote. Keep in mind, I'm old. We did not have remote technology connecting us. So I would literally go back to the bank and work from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning. Come back home, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, and get up and go back to my office the next morning after I got the kids off to school. I owned those choices. I want to say to you, your life is rich in choices. That's what that all of us, we have fought long and hard to give us options. And so don't ever be a victim of your own choices, and don't ever fail to own what you have to do to make it work. I have a pillow that my sister did for me in needlepoint several years ago, and it says, you can have it all, you just can't sleep. It's nice to all you. If you choose to have a big life with lots of activity in it, then you're choosing that life, and you're going to have compromises somewhere along the way. And it will be messy at times, and it will not always be as perfect as you hope it will be. But work-life balance is something that you have to own. And by the way, you're the one who defines what balance is. And never let anybody else impose on you what that balance looks like in your own life. I have had many, many people who have been either condescending or condemning of the choices that I've made. And for a long time, I empowered them to let them make me feel like I was not doing things perfectly. And then I realized that I'm the owner of the balance in my life. And so my life from the outside in to many people would look incredibly imbalanced. And
But that's my choice. I love it and I live it. And so I would just tell you all, don't abdicate that work-life balance. You're the one who defines what that is for you.
I'm married and have a daughter and 2 grandsons. And, she's exactly right. I mean, you have to define what your work-life balance is. And part of mine was to include my husband and daughter in my job, in my passion, in what was part of that. I made them a part of what I did. So that worked for me, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you or for whatever career you choose. So just be sure, there are times when you're going to make a decision, my family comes first. At this point in time, I've got to put my family in front of my job. But then there are also going to be times when you're going to say, the job has got to come first and the family has got to come second. And, fundraising is not a 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday. It doesn't work that way. I don't think probably anybody sitting here has a job that's from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But again, you have to make the choice of how it works best for you. And yes, I had many nights that I had to work, or many weekends when I had to travel. But again, as much as I could include them in what I did, was a way that I made my balance work for me. And again, you have to make the decision of what works best for you and for your family. And and sometimes that's not going to work for every job you have. You may have to make a job change or a career change because it's not going to work for you.
I think building on Brenda's point, I'd like us to change the paradigm a bit to work-life effectiveness as opposed to balance. Right, so balance would suggest that everything's working perfectly all the time, right? And there won't be. Everything has a season, and so I would suggest that if you can be effective at it and you can make it work for you, then that's how I'd like you to think about it. Not you have to have it all. I heard it differently. I heard you can have it all, just not all at the same time, right? Which would suggest that there are seasons and you need to pace and make it work for you. So I would challenge us to think about it as work-life effectiveness.
Yeah, and I have heard it as life balance, right? Because there's not work on life, it's life. And how do you balance your life? I just share with you, I have a 5-month-old baby. Honestly, for me, work-life balance is, I have an amazing husband. I have a partner. I have somebody that I'm making decisions with. I've never taken a career decision without getting him involved and making him part of that. That's my choice, and that's kind of how your letters are saying, it's your choice. I chose to marry this person, and I choose to have a life with him, and so we make decisions together. And there was a time, there was a time that I took when I left AT the first time, because he wanted to develop his career, and I had to be home with our son, and that's what we decided together as a couple, and it didn't stop my growth. Because every time, like she said, right, every opportunity you take, you can make it to something positive. So even though it was like a lateral move, and it sounded like it was a step back, it became a step forward, just because of what you can make out of it. But from a life balance, and I shared with you guys that already, as you can see, I don't get any sleep. I do have a 5-month-old. And I'm like you guys, right? I have my schedule set. He goes to bed at 8, and from 8 to about 12 or 1 is my most productive time until this next bottle, and then until he can sleep, and I pray for sleep till 6, right? But yeah, it's what you make of it, and as long as you're happy, and I had this conversation recently with my husband, am I not spending enough time at home? He says, well, would you be happy if you're not doing what you're doing right now? If you were at home taking care of this kid, because I see you so happy doing what you're doing. And that's kind of where you have to make those decisions. So that's what work-life balance is for me, a great support system on my own choices.
For me, a little bit different. I'm single and I have no children. But I'm just as committed to my personal life as I am my professional life. I find that oftentimes when you talk about people who say what should be, there have been many times because I am single and don't have children, people think that my time off is not important to me. And I make it very clear. I don't care if I want to go stand on the corner and look at the light pole and stuff. So, it's a one of that, and I try to make sure that they don't intersect. Sometimes they do, but I try to make sure that, just like you make your schedules, that you make sure that you're going to make your meeting time, at work. If you've committed to go have lunch with this friend that you have, and no matter how tired you are, you still do something just as committed to my personal life as I am in the Miami Heat very committed to that, trying to figure out how to get down there for finance. But whatever it is, and that's how I make it work for me. I'm just as committed to trying not to make them collide. And sometimes there will be choices that you have to make that you just can't. But I make it a point that I'm not just canceling stuff in my personal life because I'm tired or I just don't. Because if I've got a meeting I've got to go to, I've got to go do it. And I'm very involved with my nieces, nephews, and godkids, even though I don't have kids. I'm very committed to doing all of that. So I try to, where my balance is trying to make sure that I even that thing out on the personal side and on the professional side.
Well, I think I've been accused of being a workaholic in many cases, but then I've tried to get the balance because I enjoy my work. It's part of that passion. So for me, sometimes I don't feel like I'm working, but I do try to integrate my kids and now my grandkids into it. And because of my hard work, it actually has enabled me through State Farm to take some marvelous trips that I've been able to take my kids, to Europe or to different Hawaii, different places, that when we got there, we made the most of it. And so then when I came back home and I'm back to my little drill again, it's like, it's just mom. She's doing her work. When she comes home, she's going to be all about us. And so I got married 7 years ago, or remarried, I should say. And so now I don't work as many hours. I used to work, going to work on Saturday all day. Really didn't bother me because I enjoyed it. And it wasn't like the four walls at home were going to say, you haven't been here to spend any time with me. But now that, my husband's there, we're doing things in the community, a lot of volunteer work and things like that. So that helps me with that balance. My grandkids love coming to grandma's house. It's not because, we got to go see grandma. They come to my house because we're going to roll down the hill together. We're going to play together. So I try to incorporate all these things, and that helps me to have a better work balance. Not that I still don't work a lot of hours. I still do, but I just try to maximize the time that I have on.
Yeah, and I'll be brief because I know we're running late. I'm single and don't have kids as well, and so I'm always in awe with people with families because when I get home, I'm like, oh, what would I do if I heard mama, mama, mama? I just hear some barks and a little purring. I give them their food and then they're quiet. But it's important, and just to echo what they say, is you focus. If you're with your family, you focus on your family. If it's 30 minutes or an hour, that's your focus. Because your kids and your friends and whoever, they'll pick up. If you're not focused on them, they'll know right away they're not with me. If you're at work, you focus on your work and you focus on those people. So it's just important, wherever you are, take a step back. If you're worried about something or you're worried about something else, let it go and focus on what's right in front of you at the moment.
We are running out of time, and I'm sure the panelists are really wrapping things up. If you have a specific question you'd like to corner them with as they're heading out, so they'll allow you to do that. But please, let's give them a big round of applause. Some amazing information. I hope you take it to heart as you pursue your education. If you do have your evaluation, please turn it in on your way out. Thank you all very much.